Welcome to my series, Unveiling the Secrets of Executive Presence. As a certified image professional in my business Style for Life, I have the good fortune to work with some of Australia's most influential women. They're committed to making a difference in the world. They're not afraid to showcase their strength and courage with a powerful visual brand. And these women appreciate that an authentic image makes them even more credible, more confident, and more impressive than they appear even on paper. But as an ambitious woman, the journey to the C-suite can be filled with insecurity, sometimes fear, judgment, and second-guessing all around whether your executive presence and gravitas is going to be enough. But it is one of the most important skills for success in business. It's also among the least understood, which is why I decided to start this series. Unveiling the Secrets of Executive Presence provides insights into how to develop and use executive presence as a powerful tool in career advancement through interviews with the most accomplished senior executive women in Australia and overseas. These women are highly respected leaders in their fields who concur that executive presence is a skill that should be learned and mastered to make a very real difference, and they share how to use it to achieve success both personally and professionally, and what executive presence has meant for them. Now, today I have the pleasure of talking to Keren Leshem. Keren is currently the CEO and a director, a board member at Ocon Healthcare, which is an innovative women's health company with a mission to introduce safer ortrauterine drug delivery technology to improve and impact women's health and quality of life. Keren was honoured to be featured in Forbes magazine as one of 3 women shaping the future of women's health, and she's recently been invited to the World Economic Forum as a technology pioneer and named one of 100 women of influence by Entrepreneur magazine. Keren is a board director at a Swiss company, ASPIVIX, is that right, Keren?
Correct, yes.
And a steering committee member with the NIH, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation IEF, Innovation Equity Forum, and has joined UK's Femtech Labs Admissions and Advisory Board, as well as LSX's Advisory Board, and is a member at the Israeli 8400 Health Tech Network program. Prior to Ocon, Keren served as VP Corporate Development at the European pharma company Visu Pharma and served as a board member of BioLite company, Visi, which she previously headed as CEO, and was university lecturer in marketing and business English. As the founder of and CEO of Visi Limited and CEO of AO Pharma, Keren successfully led clinical research and development and BD activities that included GMP manufacturing, CMC, regulatory and clinical operations to achieve commercial status, and MTAs, which is material transfer agreements, including fundraising close to $100 million in the various roles. Keren believes in strengthening women, and she makes sure to lead with passion, integrity, and focus on her brilliant team of mostly women, service providers, and customers. Keren makes sure to donate her time and earnings to and with women that are starting out their career path and whom have made choices that require mentoring. Keren loves what she does and does what she loves. That was huge. Such a huge biography, and I'm sure I probably mispronounced some of those titles that and companies that you've worked for. So look, extremely honoured to have you on this little interview series right down here in Melbourne when you're all the way over in Israel at the moment. I mean, at opposite ends of the day. But Keren, can you tell me a time when you first realised the importance of executive presence in your career?
I think it was from the very start, absolute very start. From a very young age, I started working. I worked what we call in the US in a modeling agency where we held perfumes in malls. And we had a code. We had to wear a black skirt. We had to wear a white shirt. It had to be clean and ironed. And I was 16 or 17 at the time. And so really from day one, when I started working and understanding that people do business with people. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're a scientist, if you're a business development person, if you're a CEO, if you're, someone who looks or works in a lab, at the end of the day, people do business with people. So it's important to have that presence. And I think it also gives us, a place around the table to look the part and feel the part. And so until you make it, you might as well fake it, but still it gives us the ability to have presence.
It's really interesting because, presence is one of those things which a lot of people are a little bit unsure of, well, what does that mean? But you certainly know it, I think, when you see it. And I love the fact that you spoke about your earlier career where there was a code, there was a certain level of respect that you had, and people did expect you to dress well. They did expect you to present yourself well. And you brought in the whole concept of etiquette and beauty and those sorts of things, which tend to have fallen by the wayside these days. And I think it's really disappointing that young girls don't have these things to be able to follow. I know I was sent off to modeling school when I was 17, and I just learned the basic things, which I think really holds you in good stead, going forward, doesn't it? It teaches you certain things. So,
but it's not just about what you wear. It's also about how comfortable you feel. Yes. And I think the number one thing we all have in our closets is our smile. We have to wear our smile. Before we dress, we got to dress with a big smile. And I think, presence is something that you can create, but it's also something that you feel. And you see, when a person is present, it's not just what he wears. It's also, what comes out of this aura. And I think a smile is the number one accessory that we need to all wear.
Absolutely.
For sure.
But there are smiles and there are smiles. And I think what you're talking about is a smile that comes with feeling really confident and at ease with yourself and comfortable in your own skin as well. And that comes when you know that everything else that you've got going for you is spot on and it's the way it's supposed to be and doesn't leave you second guessing. That's my interpretation anyway of that. So can you explain what specific strategies that you use to amplify your own executive presence? Because, I mean, you are, you're on so many different boards, you've represented yourself in so many different avenues, and, you've accomplished so much. So what sort of things do you seek out to be able to do to amplify that for yourself?
So I think it has to start with the love of people. I really find people interesting and I love people and I love who I work with. And if I don't, then I don't work with those people or speak to those people or try to maybe change a little bit of the conversation. And so I think that, when you love to work with people, to communicate with people, it's very easy then to be able to deliver your message. And I think it's also a matter of respect. Each person or each someone we come in contact with brings something to the table, right? Has something important to say, has something important to do. Everyone has their own kind of mission and vision on how they want their life, their communication, their work. And it's just really interesting to sit and just listen. And many times, those visions or missions, they unite. Right? Because if we're women and we want to do better, or if we're men and women and we have a common, a determination to bring a certain product to market, whatever it is, there's always something that unifies us. And I always try to look for that one thing that we have in common. There's always a unifying thread.
Well, you have to feel like you have some alignment with people, I think, for you to be able to build trust and, from that trust, be able to then form a relationship, in which case allows you to go forward and create some amazing opportunities and things.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And being a little loud can help too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting too, being a woman, and you obviously, in all of your career path, you would have come up against some pretty interesting scenarios too. And you mentioned
Sure.
meeting people is one of your passions, and that's one of the things that you seek out to find out more about people, before you actually engage with them. So how have you managed, all the various different scenarios that you've found yourself in terms of, really positioning yourself and standing out in those situations where perhaps you haven't found yourself before or new to you? Have you employed any specific strategies for yourself?
Well, I grew up in a home, where both my parents had a career.
Yeah.
Um, and I never saw myself as a woman. I always saw myself as a professional. And so some barriers that some of us have, I didn't really experience them. Of course, throughout the years, you get a lot of comments and, these harassments, and we all, encountered those, some more, some less. But I think that mainly, the thought of I'm a professional, I have knowledge, I have experience. And of course, with age, that becomes a lot easier. But I also think that it's a matter of daring. I always say there's, three things that we need to succeed. We need knowledge, we need a network. But I think the one important thing is also we need to dare. And I always tell, people that want to hear is, when I raised my first million, it was unbelievable. Oh my God, someone gave me $1 million, but then I went on and raised 10, right? 10 million. And so it's not different. You just have to dare bigger and wider and larger. And so what's the worst thing that can happen? What is failure? And so it's all a matter of just putting things in perspective. And looking at the world with a big smile, and to say, I'm going to dare, I'm going to do that, I'm going to take that position. Even this position at Ocon, inside of me, I felt, oh, I'm not worth it. They want me to be the CEO. Why? Oh, just bring a good CEO. I'll support the CEO. I promise. I'll be really good. I'm a really good number two. And I remember, one of my board members and our biggest investor saying, of course not. You are going to be the CEO because I'm going to put my money on you because I trust that you will, deliver. And I was like, okay. And I owe him that, right? Because we all have doubt, and we all have places where we feel it's inadequate. The first time I was asked to sit on a board, what do I know? But then you see, it's just people. And it's just people talking, and it's just people talking strategy. And it's something that you love, and it's something that you care about. So speak up, and this is your opinion. And I got to tell you, sometimes it's a little difficult because my opinion is not always the same as the other people around the table. But that's where authentic communication comes in. And when I'm unpleased, I show that I'm unpleased. And when I'm happy, people see that I'm happy. And, sometimes things don't go your way, but it's really about, again, smiling, the love of people, being able to put yourself out there and dare, and of course, being authentic.
It sounds like you have incredible courage, you're incredibly confident, and you have a strong belief in yourself, which has to have come from your childhood. If your parents were entrepreneurs, they obviously were very outgoing and very ambitious, and, I think probably got that from them. But good on you, Karen, because I hear stories of so many women that know that they have the aptitude, they have the credentials to actually go for the top role, but they don't. They pull back because it's easier, I think, to pull back, like you said. Oh no, put someone else in charge. I'm a really good number two.
Yeah.
You hadn't sort of thought that, hang on a second, I can do this. I've got the credentials, I've got the presence, I've got the know-how, I've got the empathy, which I think is what women bring to the table too, isn't it? Is an enormous empathy and understanding people, and not being as, hopefully, as judgmental as other people can be. So that's an incredible story. I love that you shared that. Thank you. Really good. So, in your opinion, what are some of the common misconceptions on executive presence in your opinion, and how can people overcome them? Aside from, what you've talked about, just get to know people, just accept people, and talk to them and get to know them, because a lot of people sometimes are very reticent to talk to people because they don't feel they're like them, or that they're up to the same standard, or they're just a little bit different. So what would you recommend in that situation?
Again, I go back to the guts and the network and the knowledge. You know, many times you will see a person, and it could be someone with an executive role in a company that you really want to do business with. It could be a mother in a childcare where you say, oh my gosh, I really need to speak to her because she has all these connections with, daycares and kindergarten or whatever. And you look at these people and like, well, why would I be interesting to them, or what can I give them in order to be, communicative enough, or just this scare of approaching people because we're scared of them. Because we find them intimidating. But remember, we're just people. We're all, flesh and blood, and we all have emotions, even though some hide them better than others. And again, I go back to the dare and back to the knowledge. If you know your business and you have the network, maybe someone can introduce you to them, but if not, then you dare. And you dare go up and you introduce yourself. I remember a couple of years ago, I saw a CEO of one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. And I said to myself, gosh, I need him on my board. He's a fountain of knowledge, but how am I going to even speak to him? My lips were shuddering. I can tell you today that he's been on my board for 2.5 years. He's one of my greatest mentors. He's such a mensch. But when you look from the side, you think to yourself, oh, why would he even talk to me? I'm a small little startup in Israel. And he's in the US heading, one of the biggest companies in the world. He's, a professor at Yale University. But at the end of the day, we're just people. And so, again, come with your smile and your presence and, and just ask. And so I came to see this. I wish I knew this when I was younger. But as we age, we understand that, we have the experience, we have the knowledge. Let's develop our network and just dare. And I think that, we all see these people and we're like, oh, I can't talk to him. I can't talk to her. They're way out of my league. But try, what's the worst that can happen? And I can tell you that when people say that to me, oh, I didn't think you'd take my call and I didn't think you would be able to spend some time to help me. Why not? Ask, what's the worst that can happen? No, you already have. But when you ask and you dare, you may get a yes. And so I think that that's the most important aspect of it, is really to understand that we're all people. Some of us have more experience, some of us have less experience. But people love to help other people. At the end of the day, we like to listen to our own voice, to speak and to help other people. I truly believe that. And so reaching out is really important.
That's amazing. And yet, look, so many people do feel that they're not worthy enough to actually approach people in higher places. And maybe that's just the way they put themselves out there, and the presence that they generate, that people feel it's a no-go zone, that I couldn't possibly go there. But, I love it that you encourage people to actually take that dare. And just,
I have to tell you something. I was sitting with one of my best friends who knows me inside out. And she said to me this sentence the other day. She said, "You're the most confident, non-confident person I've ever met." Because I told her, I'm at the gym and I don't want to go do these, weights, because everybody there are Ironmans and Ironwomans, and, I'm just not that. And I'm so, self-conscious about, what I'm wearing and how I look. I don't have, that body that they all possess. And she said to me, "You're the most confident, non-confident person I've ever met. You have a problem to go lift up some weights and get out of there? Come on." So it's funny what we perceive as impossible for us, or, shameful for us. So that's
we have our comfort zones, and we like to, when we have to step outside of those comfort zones, sometimes it's very uncomfortable. But once we do it, we think, oh, it's not so bad after all, right?
Correct. Correct. You should see my biceps.
Well, you're a really busy woman, so you need to stay fit and healthy. That's
Yeah.
really important as well. So just moving on to a slightly different topic, and one of, what happened in the pandemic was really, it was huge. It had a profound impact on women in the workplace, because we were suddenly thrown into this scenario, particularly, women in senior roles, where suddenly we had all of these other things that we had to do. We had to wear so many different hats, and it was exhausting for them. And so how they dressed before the pandemic and then launching into the pandemic and being in lockdowns really altered their mindset and their perception on how they should be dressing, in a virtual world and in this really bizarre sort of situation. How do you find that women have transformed out of that particular scenario? Have you seen that there's been a shift on how women want to present now versus before the pandemic?
I think so. And it's a little bit discouraging. Men and women, they just want to be comfortable. And that comes with, let me just wear a t-shirt or maximum, a polo shirt, but I'm not going to wear a dress shirt anymore. Why should I wear my heels? It's so uncomfortable. I'm so much, more comfortable with my, flats. And it's just a shame because at the end of the day, women are women and men are men, and women, they bring so much to the table. Why not also look, gentle and soft and professional? You don't have to wear high heels. You don't have to put on, a scarf. But there are, attire that you can wear, even if you're on Zoom. And a lot of us moved to work on Zoom. Look at us, we're meeting on Zoom, and it's still part of our day-to-day. We meet on Zoom a lot, even more than we meet face-to-face. But you see now when you go to the conferences and you go out to meetings, people have toned down, the work attire, which is, a bit unfortunate. In Europe, they're still great. I love the suit and tie for a man. I love the dress or the skirt and the nice jacket for women. You bring also a reason to come to work. It's different from your day-to-day, from the afternoon or from the Saturday morning attire. And I think people should make a little bit more of an effort. I always make an effort. I make sure that my team makes an effort, especially when we're meeting people outside of our own office. It's important to make an effort. It's what you also project and present.
That's right, respectful, and I have to excuse the late afternoon sun is starting to hit me in the face. So
I see.
As it tells you the time difference that we're talking. But yeah, I know, and it is like that. I think I'm seeing a little bit of a shift back to
I agree.
what we knew before, at least out here in Australia anyway. But yeah, there was a time when, women just, why should I have to do that? Why should I have to dress like that now? I just want to be comfortable. And the comfort factor was a really big thing over COVID.
Yeah, I agree.
They would, okay, they might put on a jacket to do a Zoom call, but they wouldn't worry about the rest of them. So when it came time for them to get out of this Zoom virtual world and moving into hybrid and going out to meet people again, putting heels on was, oh my God, my feet are aching. I can't do this anymore. And, it's really made women think about, well, what are my values and what's really important to me? And is it important that I go out wearing, 6-inch high heels, or can I modify that? Can I bring that down a little bit? But how do I do that and still look feminine, still look professional? I don't want to look dowdy. I don't want to look, boring. And so it's really challenged women on a lot of different levels as to how to do this, how to still look professional, but do it in a slightly different way. What's happening over in your part of the world? Are you seeing that in a similar line?
Well, here it's a very, very, it's a country where everybody's just comfortable. The sun is always shining. It's usually very hot, we're not known for our, dress code. Unlike, other parts of Europe, let's say, that do a much better job. Here, it's very, very low key.
Yeah.
You can see biggest investors wear t-shirts, literally t-shirts, that have been washed maybe, once or twice.
Oh,
It's hilarious. But on the other hand, you kind of expect it. I'm always overdressed. Usually I'm overdressed here in Israel, but that's okay. I come as
right.
I
And
feel
at least
comfortable.
people know what to expect when they see you, and
Exactly. My
you've
hair will
developed.
always be clean. My nails will always be painted. There's always going to be heels, and a nice attire. It's very important for me. When you carry yourself well, you also carry what you bring with your position, also, what you project. And so for me, that hasn't changed in the slightest, but I see the change. But you're right. I agree that now it's becoming a little better. But still, I see a lot of people just wanting to be comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's part of your brand, and with that comes that whole, you know, reliability and trust. People know that whenever they are catching up with you or meeting you or you're coming to an event, that what they get is, what they see is what they get,
What
basically.
they get. Yeah,
And
with me,
not
that's
going
very
to
important.
not going to incur any questions in their mind as to, oh, okay, well, that's not the Karen I thought I was going to see. And that's really important as well. So the concept of executive presence, I mean, if you asked about that a few years ago, people would say, what do you mean, executive presence? So is there any time in your career where you've actually seen this, sort of come to the fore and become something that people have been quite aware of and wanting to develop?
So you're asking me if I've seen
Yeah,
that.
when have you found that executive presence is something that people have become, you know, concerned about, I suppose, over the course of your career? Have you seen it, was there a time when it became something that people started talking about and started wanting to try and project in their career?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a tipping point. Again, I'm looking back at me.
Yes.
And I think that I've developed a more executive presence the more experience I got and the more comfortable I got in the presence of others that stopped intimidating me. But because I stopped being intimidated by them, not because they changed. And I remember the first time that ever happened to me is when I sat around a table, all men and me, and all of them were doctors, MDs, PhDs. I only have my master's degree. And I remember each and every one was this, incredibly high executive in a big pharmaceutical company in Switzerland. And I remember, oh my God, this guy is doing that, and this guy did this and that, and who am I? And then I decided I'm going to do something that's going to be rooting for me. And I said to them, I don't have a corner office. I don't have a big Mercedes. I come from the startup world. I did everything you can imagine to build companies and to build projects and to take ideas and turn them into projects and products, go into humans and test them. And they all looked at me and they were drooling because they've never done anything like that. So it's not about your degree, and it's not about your office, and it's not about, the tie or the suit that you wear. It's about your passion. And immediately I remember that was my transforming, moment. It was only about 6 or 7 years ago. But then I said to myself, wow, they're actually jealous of me. I can't believe it. But it's true. When you root for yourself and you bring something to the table that you're passionate about, I think that's when I found my presence. And I walked into that room, very proud. I come from the startup world. I've done everything from the very, very bottom all the way to the top. I've never sat in a corner office in a big pharmaceutical company. By the way, I've done that for a little bit and I hated it. I went back immediately to the startup world because that's what I like. The stress, the no sleeping, the weight gain, that's me. But I think that was the moment where the presence was also when you yourself root for you and your capabilities and what you bring to the table.
Absolutely. It comes back to believing in yourself, isn't it? And, having the passion of what you do, which is amazing. So, Keren, in all of what you've done, which is absolutely incredible, where do you see yourself in, say, 5 years from now?
I was just thinking about that the other day.
Yeah.
I want to do what I do. I want to build companies. I want to make sure that women get better healthcare, better outcomes, better options. I want to help with board positions and strategies of companies. I want to help with my network. I really want to do my PhD before my son gets his MD. So that's like a competition. I'm kidding. Not really. But I have so many plans. But if we just look at the next 5 years, I just want to do what I do. I love the place that I'm at. I think we're doing incredible things for women globally, for the health of women. I'm a customer and a consumer of my products, and it's incredible to see that we can build and change and make a difference in an area that's been so underserved and underfunded. And so I want to do what I'm doing exactly today.
Oh,
I wouldn't change anything. 10 years would be a little different, but 5, I still want to do what I'm doing.
well, we need women like you, who are so passionate and driven and, won't let anything get in their way of doing what they know they can actually achieve. So this is, you mentor a lot of women as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you go about doing that?
So I stumbled across it with the 8400 community. I've always had a mentor myself. I never really called him or her a mentor, but there's always someone that did something that I aspired to, that I took comfort in discussing with. It could have been my boss, it could have been someone on my board, it could have been just someone outside my network, but I've always had someone I could go to and consult with. And so when I became a mentor, because all of the experience that I have, and sometimes, it's a mentor, not only for the business, but also emotionally and also mentally, and also, just to get up and running, just also an experience on how to handle certain situations, yes or no. And so I did that in a program called 8400. This is the biggest health network here in the country. And so they assign projects to mentors. And so the CEOs of the younger startups choose their mentors, and the mentors choose the companies. And when there's a match, they actually match that up. And I was, blessed and lucky to have a gorgeous, smart, driven woman, by the way, deals in women's health. And we learn from each other. Right. So I help her, right. And I'm her go-to person, which is not someone from within her company. So we can share and she can be as open as possible. And there's no criticism. There's just a real need to see her and really understand what she's going through. I've been through it. We've all been through it. So to be able to mentor is something that really gives me a lot of insight also about myself. But it's fantastic. And so, a lot of men and women out there that reach out, I answer everyone's call and I try to do the best I can to help. I don't have a lot of time, but I do try to help, because I think, even one little comment or listening to, a story or something they're going through, a challenge, and to give your point of view or to put things in perspective for them, it gives a lot of comfort. Right? Oh, she understands me. This is what I need to do. And they usually come to the conclusion themselves. You just kind of take them through, like, what the options are. And so it's a great process to see. And to see the company flourish and to see the CEO flourish. It's just, don't tell anybody, but it's a gift to the mentor more than it's a gift to the mentee.
That's a wonderful story. And it's not dissimilar with the work that I do with women too, in that often they come to you and as you're working through certain problems, they will reveal things that have happened to them in their lives, which I say, that's okay. I've been there, I've been through that exact situation, and this is how I handled it, but how would you handle it? And they're like, oh my God, she understands. She knows where I'm at, and she's been through it herself. So it just makes such a difference. It gives them so much reassurance and comfort, as you say. Comfort.
I agree.
They're not alone, but we all, as women, have problems. We all experience, the physiological changes that we go through as women, and the career problems that we face, the family problems that we face, children, aging parents, all of those things, we all go through them, and
Correct.
no woman is exempt from that. So, just to be able to talk to someone who understands can make a really, really big difference.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And don't get me started on the changes, the hormonal and age change. That will be another 30-minute conversation.
Oh yeah, it's one of the biggest conversations I have with a lot of clients, I can tell you. It's really it's a really big issue for women.
Yeah.
And one we have to
Because we don't talk about it, and we don't know
Exactly.
where to look for information.
Yes.
And we go through these changes in our bodies mentally, physically, and we just think we're going crazy. And we are a little bit, because it's hormonal, but
Yep. It always
it's
comes at a time when you've got all of these other big issues going on as well, and you're meant to
for sure.
absolutely hold yourself together and act as though nothing else is going on and be perfect at everything. But we're not perfect, right?
No, we're not perfect at all.
So on that note, let's wrap it up. Unless you've got anything else to say, and please, Keren, let everyone know how, if they'd like to reach out to you, how can they go about doing that?
Well, the best thing to do is to look for me on LinkedIn. It's my second job, I always say. I'm there. Send me a note if you need to reach out for some advice. If someone in my network could help your efforts, happy to make the introduction. I've looked lately, it's insane. I have over 16,000 people that follow me on LinkedIn. So there must be someone in common that you need to get a hold of. And so happy to do that. Wake up in the morning, be good to yourself, and dress well, and have that presence. And it doesn't matter if you're an executive or a team member in a company, look the part, and then the part will come. I really believe that ever since I was young, really from the age of 16, 17, I thought, if I look the part, the part will come, and I'll be the part. And so I really recommend, and reach out to you, Julie. You do fantastic things with women. You help them really shape, their image and persona. I've read your book. It's incredible. And so if you need some help, a little bit on image and a little bit of how to change, even a little bit, your wardrobe, your techniques, even your body figure to how to dress, Julie, you would be perfect for that.
They're all the things that we work on, and
Yes.
it's a process. But
don't forget to wear the most important thing, which is your smile.
Yes,
that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Oh, Keren, it's been an absolute delight to meet you, and thank you so much for coming onto this program. And it's my evening, and it's your morning, so you have a full day ahead of you. So,
I do.
It's been an absolute delight. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie, for having me, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.